Welcome back to Mi Valle Mi Vida. I am Juan Carmona.
And I am Mariana Luna, and we are your hosts.
And for this episode, which will be actually our first two-part episode, we're going to be looking at wrestling specifically here in the Rio Grande Valley. Now, I grew up when I was a little kid watching some wrestling matches like Hulk Hogan and all that in the 80s, but I kind of like drifted away from it. So I didn't know that much about wrestling here in the Valley. I had no clue. It was Ariana who told me about it. So let me let you fill you guys in on how she came to learn about wrestling in the Valley.
Okay, so I really didn't know about it either. I didn't really know how big the wrestling scene was here in the Valley until my then boyfriend, who's now my fiance, introduced me to it, and he invited me to a show one Friday night. And it was called Wrestling Revolution then. Now it's New Breed. And we went to a show and it was really cool. And I had no idea that's like they put a show on every single Friday night. And it was really cool. And it's just become our thing now. So we go to shows a lot. Both wrestling here in the Valley, but also I've been to a couple WWE shows with him. And it's been fun.
Yeah, so for this episode, I had Ariana introduce me, and we had a sit down with Mr. Danny Chance, who runs New Breed Wrestling. And so we're going to cut over to his interview and the background and story he has to tell us about wrestling in his life as well.
My name is Daniel Valdez. I go as Danny Chance. I'm a professional wrestler. I've been doing this for about 11, going on 12 years now. I travel a lot. Been going from California to Florida, to Mississippi, Louisiana, and all over Texas. This is my full-time commitment right here.
And what do you travel for?
I travel for the shows that I'll get. We call it bookings. So pretty much they'll say, "Hey, can you make this date?" And then I tell them yes. They ask for my price, my rate. Tell my price. If they can match it, then I'm on the show. They ask for like promo pictures sometimes, and you put you on the graphics, and if not, it's fine. A lot of them, I'm there.
And how did you get started in wrestling?
I was a junior, and I was at Palmview Lobos, and that's where I met with Wrestling Revolution. They didn't have a wrestling school, none of that. We started at a flea market, and it was really awful. The ring was all like not really sturdy, so like ours was real smooth, but theirs like lumpy, and some of those parts were really like there was no padding. The ropes were super tight, and I was the youngest one there. Everybody else was like 28, 29, 30, way older. And yeah, so I started off there. Wasn't the best kind of
describe the conditions.
Atmosphere. So if you want to use a restroom, there was a bucket. If you use the restroom number 2, there's another bucket. That was it. You bring your own toilet paper, pretty much. And then sometimes we train over on Empanitas and Tom Gill and 7 Mile 107. Over there, they didn't have a ceiling, so sometimes we train over there, it was just nothing. And then if anything sort of bad weather came in, just get out, because and that ring was the worst thing I've ever been in, because it was all rusted up and it was horrible.
And what drove you to wrestling? Like, where did you get your wrestling bug?
I grew up watching wrestling. My dad, since I was like a baby, watching Razor Ramon, rest in peace him, Scott Hall. He just passed away yesterday. So watching all the wrestling, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, you're talking about Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior. I grew up watching all that stuff when I was a child, and then WCW, and then the Attitude Era with like D-Generation X and Vince McMahon and Stone Cold and The Rock. So it was just all that. I grew up loving and watching wrestling every week.
How did you find out about Valley Wrestling?
Bandana Joe, who is now, he did Spanish commentary for AEW. He had made a post on Craigslist looking for people that want to wrestle. My brother and my uncle found the ad, I guess, and they went 1 week, and I was 16. And then the following week, they're like, they'd asked, like, can my brother come? He's 16, turning 17 in a few weeks. They said, well, yeah, as long as your parents consent. So that's how all that started. If it wasn't for Bandana Joe putting it up on Craigslist, I wouldn't be here. None of this would be here, like, at all. None of this.
So how did you end up becoming the owner? of?
Okay, so
wrestling?
there was never like I was a child, right? So even now I don't consider myself an adult, even though I got bills and everything. I just wanted to wrestle. I didn't want to become someone that like led the locker room or like went over like how. Can I break the fourth wall with this, or can I keep?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to go over the match with anybody, like backstage and like really be an agent is what we call it. But after doing it, 8, 9, 10 years, some of the older vets started like venturing off, wife, family, kids, careers, and so like my class pretty much stepped up, and we were doing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and so eventually it was just me and my good friend Rob Love. We were running it at Cine Rey for like the last year before COVID, and then COVID hit. They had asked me to continue running WR, but Cine Rey was still shut down. So that's when we got connections with Brewsome, and we're doing the shows there monthly. And then eventually it was my wife's idea, and she was like, hey, we're doing all these things for the company, and they were already on the reason why I came was because they're already saying that, hey, like, we just want to be done with it already, be done with it, like, we don't want to just do whatever you want, buy the ring, whatever. But it wasn't like we were like, okay, like, it is what it is. We'll buy our own ring, do everything brand new all over again. But it was my wife that ultimately, we taught her that, let's buy the ring from them. Let's buy the belts, whatever we can buy from them, and we'll just continue it under the banner of the school. So New Breed Wrestling. Yeah.
I asked you earlier, but go ahead and tell me, how long have you had New Breed Wrestling?
So the school we opened up in February of 2020. So this is our 2 years now. We just celebrated it and everything. The whole reason why we started all this, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, was because obviously where I started training at was just real bad, it wasn't professional. And so if anyone else that wanted to get like legitimate training, they have to go to San Antonio. If you're in McAllen, Brownsville, Harlingen, if you're in Laredo, if you're in Corpus, the closest place is San Antonio. Besides that, if you go to Houston, then you got Booker T. That's pretty much it, so with all the traveling I was doing and making the connections that I know and all these promotions, we said we should make the wrestling school here so people don't have to move out of the valley from their families and their friends and everything that's here for them to go up 3 or 4 hour drive and train, so that's why.
And do you get people from all around the valley coming here?
Yes, from Santa Rosa, Westico, Harlingen, Brownsville to Rio Grande City. Our youngest one, he just turned 17, and he's from Rio Grande City. He plays soccer for the high school. I forgot their name, but. And
besides doing Brewsome, are there other places that you guys are there other events that take place in the valley?
So we did one at the Boys and Girls Club. That was one time. We did another one in the Alton, City of Alton Recreation Center, I guess. It's not a Boys and Girls Club, but we did one for them. But then we just worked out like a better deal with Brewsome. So we're going to do every second Sunday of the month. We're going to be there at Brewsome from here on out.
At what time would that be?
So our doors open at 5. No, doors open at 4, so it's at 5. I'm right there. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. When you were younger, you said you got into this, and they were mostly wrestling taking place in flea markets. Is that what?
Yes. Oh, Can
you talk a little bit about that?
The training that I was wrestling in the ring. That's where we would train at. That's where we would wrestle at, and it was just real lucha. Like all the fan base there. Like you're talking about like a 16-year-old scrawny kid, no facial hair, walking to the ring with some Walmart shorts, tennis shoes, and a tank top, and I'm performing in front of people that don't know what I'm trying to do, or I don't even know what I'm trying to do actually, So like, and just everyone just like on their hands, not making a noise, not talking, not clapping, not reacting to anything, and then then as soon as we're done, the second match goes in there, and then chigatalo, like now they're all getting crazy with it. I'm like, what's going on? It's because it's the fan base. So that's where we would wrestle at. Like every Sunday we wrestled there at the flea market on Ochoa's Flea Market, Conway 4 Mile. Then we did one event at Roma. They did a I don't know what it was, but it was again Bandana Joe. Like he's the one that got the connection. He's from Roma, so he's the one that got the promotion to do an event there. And then one of the guys, I guess he just found Cineré, and they talked with the two owners, Bert and Isaac, and then we were doing Thursdays there every week, Thursday, for about a year or 2 years. And then they did rods over in Edinburgh by Carmike. That's yeah. So we did that. We were doing Thursday here, Fridays there. Thursday here, Fridays there. And then eventually, the whole Carmike thing, or the whole rods thing just fell through. And then instead of doing Thursdays, they moved us over to Fridays, and then we just started doing Fridays weekly there at Cineré.
And when you do these shows, is there a certain group that you always work with, like as far as other opponents?
Well, yes, because the guys, obviously the ones that I train, they like. I consider this not like it's like a big thing. Again, we're not drawing in 2,000 people at a show. We're not bringing in former WWE guys. None of that stuff. So our focus is getting our guys to start the wrestling dream, the wrestling career. This is like that first stepping stone. You know, that way we'll teach you everything that we know, that I know, to make you really good, and then to help you get noticed by guys from San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, the guys that I've worked with. They'll see me and they'll see my product. They'll see you guys. That they'll be like, hey, who's that guy? Oh, that's James Blackheart. Oh, that's Chris Austin. Well, how good is he? Well, he's pretty good. You know, you want to test him out? And so, yeah, set him up. I would like to see him like train with us for a weekend and then put him on a show, you know. And so like those are connections that I'm doing for these guys that they're also getting themselves as well. Like they're networking, and that way they can. This is like where you just get all your everything rolled, like everything ready here, so you don't go out there and embarrass yourself. You know, don't be the 16-year-old Danny Chance that looks stupid, or 17-year-old Danny Chance that's stupid in the ring. I make sure everybody here has gear made that they know what their character is, their entrance, everything. Because the last thing I want to do is go out there and they're wrestling gym shorts, tennis shoes, and it's not believable anymore. So that's like a certain standard I get them to. As far as my guys here, the guys that we bring down, guys like Alex Arsenal, Edgar Garza, those two guys are from San Antonio. Those guys are just solid workers. They're gonna go places. Real good friends of mine. They are solid. They help teach these guys when they wrestle them. They don't just tell them like, this is what you gotta do better. No, they show them why you're doing things wrong or why this worked out so well. And those are the type of things that I got learning from guys like Ray Rowe, who is on WWE now. You know, like he took me underneath his wing, and he's the one that told me like, Danny, why are you doing this? I'm like, well, this is what they showed me. Well, that's wrong. Why did they show you that? I'm like, well, I trained at a flea market. What do you expect? You know? So yeah, but he took me underneath his wing, and then I was doing shows in Buda with all of them. And Buda, Texas, and guys like Keith Lee, who's on AEW, guys like Sammy Guevara, who's on AEW, guys like Ricky Starks, all of them are AEW or WWE or TNA or somewhat. That group, they were the ones I would just sit in the corner or just ears open, mouth shut, just listening. So learning from them, and then I see guys like Alex Arsenal, Edgar Garza, other people that I bring down, even like our own trainers here that are wrestling. They do what they did for me that we're doing for the next generation. It's not just, oh, you're doing it wrong, do it better. It's why this happened and what you should have done differently. Or, hey, that worked out really well, and this is why it worked out well. You got to know why you're doing things. A lot of training, they don't show you why you're doing things. They just show you just to do it, and that doesn't fly.
And you could talk a little bit about the training you give these kids?
So we usually start at 6 o'clock. From 6 to 7 or 7:15, 7:30, we're working out. We don't even get in the ring. We just work out. Then from 7:30 or about the 5-10 minute break, we'll change it into our wrestling shoes. Then we'll get in the ring. We'll warm up a little bit because everybody has to cool down a lot from after the circuit training that we do. Then we get in the ring. We do a little bit of warm-ups, and then we go into like, all right, we're going to do this. And then they'll ask questions afterwards, like, okay, like why did we do like this certain way? Well, because the universal is you work the left side. You work the left side of the body, or the left leg or left arm, or you're going to be on the left side of the body. You're never going to be on the right side working the right side, working the right arms. And there's reasons for that. If you throw a guy in the ring from one side of the ring to the other side, you're going to grab left to left. You're never going to grab right to right. You grab left to left, and you throw him this way. So we show him we got to work that side because you can have a guy in a hold, take him to the ropes, and then you already have his left arm ready for you, so you can grab it and throw him off. Stuff like that.
And building character.
So I hated it when I would hear other stories. One of my guys who went from one training place here in the Valley to our school was that he went to the trainer like, I have this idea. I want to be this Dominican guy. I want to do this. I want to tell you this. I want to dress like this. And he got shut down. And then his parents told him, like, why don't you try New Breed, Danny Chance? He's like, well, no, he hates me, like, because I'm not training with them, I'm training over here. Well, how do you know? Have you ever asked him? Of course, no. So he just threw me a message. Yeah, come on over. I came over within the first 2 weeks. He was like, I had this idea. Like, what do you think? I'm like, that's the Rock, but with the Dominican Republic, thing to it. And so yeah, like he's real flamboyant. Like, did you hear to that show where he wore the spiky shoes? Yeah. Like, you should have seen this kid. And he can talk. He could talk the talk, and he is great. So like, I love seeing it when they have an idea. My goal is to make their idea just come to fruition. And if there's something that's like, okay, but like it sounds good, but there's something to it that just doesn't sound like if you taste chicken, you can tell like, oh, this one's cooked right. Or you taste it like, then you know. That's what we do. We hear and we see and like, we gotta fix this. We gotta tweak this, and it's all there. I don't say, oh, you're gonna do this. I don't. That's not what I did. They did for me. I tell them to tell anybody else. I want you to do what you want to do. Help you make your ideas out there like seem believable.
And how many people are at the shows as far as number of wrestlers?
The wrestlers, we used to do 6 matches, which was crazy on the budget. But now we do 5 matches, and so we're looking between 2, 4, 6. That's 10, and then it's 13. About 16 to 17 guys. That's it. And then you have the referees, then you have the announcer, music, managers, entrance, all the workers. In total, like the title, like worker list, 20-25 people. Wrestlers, 16, 17, 18.
And could you describe like the crowd in comparison to like when you wrestled in the flea markets and the crowd you see today?
So yeah, there's a real big difference. The quality of the crowd is way different because now if we do a show, it's a lot of the people that know what they're gonna see. Like this is the product they're gonna go look at. It's like saying like, oh, I'm gonna buy tickets to a WWE event and it's by AAA or CMLL or it's by like some Japan style wrestling. You're gonna go buy a ticket for what you're gonna see with WWE. So our fans, they know what they're gonna see is this kind of wrestling. If they want to see lucha, then they go buy lucha tickets. So the fans at the flea market are all lucha fans. They're really hard to get over to cheer or react to everything that you're doing because the way they work is real. Like they work with the fans, like otra vez, otra, and then they otra, and then they really go like that. Where us, it's more of a fight, but it's telling a story within the fight. Like it's not just it's acting, it's drama, it's stage. Like you're going to see a theater, like a play or something, but it's a physical version of everything you've seen, from Macbeth to Shakespeare. It's everything like that.
So can you describe telling a story? Like you can expand that. Like
so there's always a good guy and a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Okay, every good guy has their own background. Every bad guy has their own background. It's when you bring them together, what are they going to say? Batman, Joker. That's one idea, right? But then you have Batman and Bane, Batman and Mr. Freeze, Batman and Poison Ivy. Same thing. You could have guys like that. Let's just say we have a good guy who's an underdog. Let's just say Superman lost his powers, and you have a really, really mean bad guy who's Lex Luthor. That's like, all right, I'm gonna beat you up to a pulp. Everybody's gonna get behind the underdog. That's the easiest story to tell, the Cinderella story. That's the easiest version to tell. So when you're doing it in the ring now, however, and now you gotta show the fans not just, oh, I could beat him up, but why I'm beating him up and how he can show you guys that I'm not just beating him up for nothing. Like he's like, like I'm not beating him up for no reason, but he needs to go. The face needs to show, the good guy needs to show the bad guy and the fans, I can still fight. Even though I'm getting beat up, I have a fight in me. I like the fight in the dog. I can still that stuff. That's really hard for some people, the wrestlers that are starting out to grasp. A lot of times they just play dead. They get thrown around. They get beaten up, and then they expect the fans at the very end to be like, "All right, I'm alive. I won." No one's gonna care that you just did all this because throughout the match you were just playing dead. You were getting beat up. Fight back, and they have the fans react to all that.
We have to thank Mr. Denny Chance for sitting down with us, and that was not the end of his story. He has a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, so what we just heard is pretty much just how he got into wrestling, a little bit of background about New Breed. In the next episode, you'll hear more about how New Breed is today, some of their wrestlers, how their shows go on, how everything's set up. So stay tuned for more information and just a deeper look inside New Breed and the wrestling scene here in the Valley.
And I will add that we're going to have a little personal story from Mariana. Is something connected to wrestling that happened to her, and I think it's a really cute little story. So stay tuned for that story as well. But until next time, we love you, RGV.